Imagine being the strongest person to ever walk the earth. Your name alone makes monsters tremble, and your feats are already the stuff of legend. You are Hercules, a demigod, the son of Zeus. Now, imagine your greatest gift, that godlike strength, turning into your worst nightmare. In a fit of madness, cursed by the jealous goddess Hera, you wake up to find you have destroyed your own family, the very people you loved most. The grief is a bottomless pit, a guilt so heavy it could crush the spirit of any mortal. This is how our hero's story truly begins, not in glory, but in utter, devastating ruin. Lost and seeking purification, Hercules went to the oracle. The punishment she gave him seemed less like a path to redemption and more like a death sentence. He would have to become the servant of his weak and cowardly cousin, King Eurystheus, and perform 10 impossible tasks, or labors. These weren't chores. They were suicide missions dreamed up by a king who hoped Hercules would never return. It was a mission impossible from the ancient world, and it was his only hope to cleanse his soul. His first task set the tone for the nightmare to come. He was sent to kill the Nemean Lion, a beast whose golden fur was impervious to any weapon. Swords and arrows simply bounced off. Hercules, realizing brute force alone wouldn't work, used his wits. He chased the lion into its two-mouthed cave, wrestled it with his bare hands, and finally managed to strangle the mighty creature. To skin it, he used the lion's own razor-sharp claws, and from that day forward, he wore its impenetrable pelt as his iconic armor, a constant reminder of his first hard-won victory. No sooner had he proven his strength than he was tested on his brains. In the swampy marshes of Lernaean lurked the Hydra, a monstrous water serpent with 9 heads and a disgusting secret. For every head cut off, 2 more would grow back. To make matters worse, a giant crab scuttled out to aid the beast. With the help of his quick-thinking nephew Iolaus, Hercules devised a brilliant, if gruesome, solution. As he cleaved off each head, Iolaus seared the bleeding neck stumps with a burning torch, cauterizing the wounds and preventing new growth. For the one immortal head, Hercules buried it under a massive, heavy rock, trapping it forever. He then dipped his arrows into the Hydra's poisonous blood, a decision that would have tragic consequences far in the future. King Eurystheus, watching from the safety of his palace, then ordered acts of capture that required control and reverence. The Lernaean hind was a creature so sacred and swift it could outrun an arrow, with hooves of bronze and antlers of gold, beloved by the goddess Artemis. Hercules pursued this magnificent animal for a full year across the wilds of Greece before finally capturing it gently in a net, showing respect to the divine. He was immediately sent after the Erymanthian boar, a raging beast of monstrous size. Hercules chased it into deep snow, where it tired itself out, wrestled it into submission, and carried the massive, squealing creature back to the king. The sight was so terrifying that Eurystheus, in a moment of pure cowardly comedy, dove headfirst into a giant underground storage jar to hide. The next labor was a deliberate insult. The Augean stables housed thousands of cattle and had not been cleaned in 30 years. The filth was legendary, a mountain of waste. Eurystheus expected Hercules to spend years shoveling, humiliating himself. But Hercules saw a solution not of muscle, but of genius. He offered to clean it in a single day for a reward and, facing 2 mighty rivers, simply smashed openings in the stable walls and diverted the waters through them. The rushing torrents scoured the stables clean in hours, a triumph of intellect over indignity. The challenges then became more surreal and deadly. At Lake Stymphalia, he faced a flock of man-eating birds with beaks and feathers of bronze, whose toxic dung poisoned the land. The marshy ground couldn't support him, and the birds swarmed. The goddess Athena aided him with a gigantic bronze rattle. Its deafening, unnatural clatter startled the birds into the air, where Hercules picked them off with his poisoned arrows. He then voyaged to Crete to capture the fire-breathing Cretan bull, the father of the Minotaur, wrestling it into submission. A darker task awaited in Thrace, where King Diomedes kept a herd of man-eating maras. To end this barbaric practice, Hercules fought and killed the king and, in a shocking twist of poetic justice, fed Diomedes' own body to his Mares. The act instantly calmed the beasts, rendering them tame. As the end of his penance seemed near, the labors pushed him to the edges of the known world. To retrieve the war belt of the Amazon queen Hippolyta, Hercules set sail. Surprisingly, the meeting began peacefully, and the queen, impressed by his fame, agreed to give him the girdle. But the ever-watchful Hera intervened, spreading a rumor that caused the Amazons to attack. In the tragic confusion, Hercules was forced to kill Hippolyta, a victory stained with the blood of an honorable foe. For his 10th labor, he journeyed to the far western edge of the world to steal the red cattle of the monster Geryon, a giant with 3 bodies joined at the waist. After a long voyage in a golden cup borrowed from the sun god, Hercules arrived, slew the 2-headed guard dog and the giant herdsman, and in a final battle, felled Geryon himself with a single arrow that pierced all 3 bodies. The journey back was an epic struggle of its own, against thieves, giants, and a gadfly sent by Hera to scatter the herd. When Hercules returned, he believed his debt was paid. But in an act of pure spite, Eurystheus invalidated 2 labors, claiming outside help had been given. 2 more impossible tasks were added. The first was to steal the golden apples from the garden of the Hesperides, guarded by a 100-headed dragon. This quest led him to the Titan Atlas, who held up the sky. They struck a deal. Atlas would fetch the apples while Hercules held the celestial weight. When Atlas returned, enjoying his freedom, he offered to deliver the apples himself, planning to leave Hercules trapped forever. But with quick thinking, Hercules pretended to agree, asking Atlas to take the sky back for just a moment, so he could adjust his cloak. The moment the Titan resumed his burden, Hercules picked up the apples and left, his wits saving him from an eternal prison. And now, we reach the most profound and shocking climax of Hercules' entire quest. For his 12th and final labor, Eurystheus demanded the one thing deemed utterly, irrevocably impossible: to descend into the underworld and bring back Cerberus, the monstrous 3-headed hound of hell. This was an invasion of the realm of Hades, from which no mortal returned. Hercules prepared by being initiated into the sacred mysteries, confronting his own mortality. He crossed the river Styx, walked the asphodel meadows among the shades of the dead, and finally stood before the throne of Hades and Persephone. He did not demand or attack. He explained his divine penance and asked. To everyone's shock, Hades agreed, but on one condition: Hercules must subdue the beast using only his own strength, without weapons. What followed was the greatest wrestling match in all of myth. In the gloom of the afterlife, Hercules fought the hellhound whose mane was writhing snakes, whose bark caused panic. Using the Nemean Lion's pelt for protection, he wrapped his arms around all 3 thrashing necks and squeezed, not to kill, but to master. He choked the creature into submission. He then performed the unthinkable. He dragged the living beast of nightmare up into the world of the living, emerging into the sunlight. The sight was so terrifying that when he presented it to Eurystheus, the king once again dove into his storage jar, begging him to take it away. His final duty complete, Hercules returned Cerberus to the underworld. Heracles returned, his penance officially complete, his guilt absolved by the gods. But the man who came back was not the same one who left. He had been to hell and back, in every sense. His story is not a simple tale of clean heroism. It is the story of a profoundly broken man who committed an unforgivable sin and spent a lifetime trying to atone for it through unbearable service. He became a legend not because he was born perfect, but because he was deeply human in his suffering and relentless in his struggle for redemption. His name echoes through history for this powerful, shocking truth, that even from the deepest darkness, acts of greatness can be forged, and our greatest trials can become the foundation of our eternal story. If this journey through the impossible trials of Hercules captivated you, there's a whole world of myths where gods gamble with mortal lives and monsters hide profound truths. What epic tale or legendary figure should we explore next? Let us know in the comments. And if you want to join us for more deep dives into history and mythology, be sure to subscribe.